This video is brought to you by Squarespace. If you need a website or domain, check out squarespace.com. Hey everyone, and welcome to a new video. Most photographers think that aperture is what creates blurry backgrounds, but this photo at f5.6 has far more background blur than this photo at f2.8. What is actually happening? In this video, I'll explain how aperture is only one part of background blur, all the variables that go into a blurry background, and how to put this to use in the field so you can have this without expensive f2.8 lenses. And stay tuned for my bonus tip where I reveal if larger sensors create blurrier backgrounds. As is commonly taught, expect an argument in the comments section on this one. Hint, they don't. My name is Simon D'Entremont and I'm a professional nature and wildlife photographer living in Eastern Canada. I make weekly videos giving you photo tips or taking you behind the scenes for wildlife and nature photography. Subscribe if you want to see more. Okay, let's get some of the terms and science figured out here so everything in this video makes sense. Blurry backgrounds are something that many photographic styles desire because having a blurry background gives a certain look that makes the subject pop, takes the background out of play, which may be distracting, and differentiates a photo from what a phone snapshot might look like, for example. This is popular in portraiture, sports, or wildlife. Now, what makes the background blurry is the fact that it's very out of focus. The more out of focus the background is, the softer it looks with less detail. Here I am moving the focus ring on this lens, and as you can see, how the background gets smoother as the focus moves forward, closer to my subject. This phenomenon is the result of the variances in the depth of field. Depth of field is the plane at which things are in an acceptable focus. Note that things don't go from perfect focus to way out of focus all at once. So here on this test shot, as the batteries fall farther back out of focus, they just get blurrier and blurrier as we go farther back or forwards from the focus plane. And here we need to get into the factors that affect the blurriness of the background. First on people's minds is the aperture of the lens. This is what we're taught. Fast lenses, the term we give to lenses with wider apertures, make for thinner depths of field and blurrier backgrounds. Note that the naming convention looks backwards because the smaller the number, the larger the aperture. That's because the number is actually a fraction. So think of f2 is more like 1/2, f4 1/4, and f8 1/8. Half a pizza is bigger than 1/8 of a pizza, right? So larger apertures create thinner depths of field. Now what's happening is that large apertures allow light from wider angles, creating a thin area in focus and a broader area out of focus. I'm a visual learner and see it this way in my head. Let's use this thought experiment where the lines show the maximum angle at which light travels. Where they cross is the focus point, and where the lines are close to each other, there is focus, and where they're far apart, there's no focus and it's blurry. On the other hand, small apertures have light rays coming from a smaller, narrower angle, which makes converging and in-focus light rays along a longer, deeper path, with more of the scene in focus, and the areas away from focus not that much out of focus. So using lenses with wider apertures will give you a blurrier background. Check. And here's where the common knowledge of many beginner photographers and even some advanced photographers ends. Folks will say, if you want a blurrier background, get a lens with a wider aperture, and that's all you need to know. Well, that's where I'm going to jump in and say actually wider aperture lenses are only one small part of making blurry backgrounds. There are actually many more, so let's look at these and how to use them in the field. Let's use my little owl buddy to evaluate the blurriness of the background in some demo scenarios. The first variable is subject distance. The closer you are to your subject, the thinner the depth of field. Think of the earlier thought experiment example this way. If the subject gets closer, the light rays converge at a steeper angle, making a thinner depth of field and a blurrier background. So let's try that here. If we get closer while still focused on the owl, note how the background looks more and more out of focus as we get closer, even with the exact same settings. This is why macro lenses create such crazy thin depths of field. We're super close. Check out this shot with my 35mm f1.8 macro. The field tip? I have two of them. First, and somewhat obviously, get as close as you can to your subject and the background will be blurrier and less distracting. The closer you can get, the smoother the background. But secondly, having lenses that allow a close minimum focus distance, the distance at which it will still focus, can make a big difference here. For example, I still use this Canon EF 100-400 version 2 here, and one of the reasons is its 3 foot or 1 meter minimum focus distance at 400 millimeters. I think it's Canon's highest magnification lens without being a macro lens. Check out how much I can blur the background with this and the types of photos I can get with it up close, even though its widest aperture is f5.6, which isn't considered fast. I'd like to thank the sponsor of this video, Squarespace. I built my own website using Squarespace and it was a breeze. A website is just a great way to have a professional place online where you can show off your work, your service, or your personal brand. Social media are often showing you or your work in short clips or thumbnail photos, and sometimes makes it difficult to monetize, as many of them don't want links to external sites. A website is a permanent home for you and your work, presented in galleries or on pages designed by you that show them off at their best for you, not the best for the algorithm. There are lots of useful templates, including ones for specific genres like photography, which is mine. Or if you're more daring and artistic, you can go outside the templates using the new AI feature called Squarespace Blueprint to help you personally curate your own build. It walks you through the steps. It's also a great way to monetize your work by setting up an online store so you can take payments by credit card or even PayPal from all over the world. And now with a new added feature of buy now and pay later with ClearPay and Afterpay. Go to squarespace.com to sign up for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/Simon for 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. The second way to change the blurriness of the background is to control the background distance. If you look at this thought experiment example, if the background is farther away, they're gradually increasing out of focusness to get farther and farther back, meaning it's blurrier than before. And if we try this with a real-world example, if I photograph my little owl buddy with the background right behind it, you'll clearly see the background. But if we create some space between the subject and the background is clearly blurrier. Now, this is pretty obvious what should be done in the field. Either pull your subject away from the background if you can control your subject's position, or position yourself such that the subject's background is farther back, like changing the background behind the subject from this to this. In my wildlife photography, I try to avoid areas where the background is just busy and close. You end up with shots like this, but if I move sideways, I can get backgrounds like these. The third way to get cleaner backgrounds other than wider aperture lenses is to increase your focal length. That's right, longer focal length lenses, if we look at our thought experiment, create a steeper angle of light rays, creating a thinner depth of field. But there's more. Longer focal length lenses also magnify the background by capturing a smaller slice of it, increasing its blurry look. Now let's try that on my owl buddy. If I back up and use a longer lens, the subject stays the same size, but the background looks magnified and breaks up any structure in it. I use this in wildlife photography all the time. Here's a wildlife photo taken at 70mm f2.8, another at 200mm f2.8, and another at 600mm f4. So even if my 600mm is f4 and not f2.8, it creates a blurrier background. This really makes the subject pop. And finally, I promised to talk about sensor size and how it affects the depth of field and the blurriness of the background. And of course, this is based on the well-known fact that larger sensors create blurrier backgrounds. Not really. Let's look at how a lens and a camera work together. A lens collects light and projects an image circle into a camera body, which crops out a rectangle, the size of which depends on the sensor size. The important point here is that the image is captured after the light has been through the lens. The blurriness of the background is baked into the image the moment it passes through the lens, and there is nothing you can do to change the image and the blurriness of the background after the fact, including changing the sensor size. The only thing that a different sensor size does differently is how big a rectangle it cuts out of the image circle created by the lens. So why do people say that larger sensors have blurrier backgrounds? It's because the wider field of view makes the photographer do two things that indeed make the background blurrier. One, because of the wider field of view of the larger sensor, the subject is smaller in the frame. What does the photographer do? In some genres, he or she can move closer to make the subject larger. And as we've seen, getting closer makes for a thinner depth of field. Note that this isn't an option in all genres, like shooting wildlife, motorsports, or sports from the sidelines. Secondly, the photographer may use a longer lens, and again, as we saw, a longer lens makes for a blurrier background. The corollary of all of this is that there's nothing physical in a larger sensor that changes the depth of field of a photo. It's what the photographer does as a result that changes the depth of field and the blurriness of the background. And to test this, if I take the exact same lens with the exact same settings and take two photos, one on a crop sensor and one on a full frame, here are the two images. If I crop the full frame to the same field of view as the crop sensor, capturing a smaller slice of the picture, the resulting photos, including the depth of field, is identical. If my discussion on the differences in cameras of different sensor sizes was intriguing, you can check out my video on that topic right here. And I hope you can use these tips the next time you go out to get your own unique and amazing photos. I know you can do it.